Think your business at the top is untouchable by the budget players. That high-end niche feels pretty secure, right?
Uh-huh.
Well, get ready for a surprise. Today, we're plunging into some fascinating research that kind of flips that idea on its head.
Yeah.
It reveals how a low-cost competitor's success might just be your biggest hidden threat.
It's a really counterintuitive notion, isn't it?
Totally.
We typically assume, the closer the competition, the fiercer the battle.
Right?
But what if the ripples of a competitive advantage travel through, well, unexpected channels, hitting the seemingly distant players the hardest?
Exactly. And this isn't just water cooler speculation. We've got a deep stack of sources here.
Okay.
Most notably, a really insightful research paper titled The Cue Ball Effect: How an Advantaged Firm's Closer Competitors Can Propagate the Impact of Its Advantage to More Distant Competitors.
Right. I know the one. By Balasubramanian, Makadok, and Chiu.
That's it. Serious academic firepower behind this idea.
Indeed. They've not only built a rigorous economic framework, but also examined real-world markets to understand this surprising phenomenon.
So our mission today is to dissect this cue ball effect, how a competitive advantage can sort of ricochet across the market.
Yeah, bounce around.
And really understand what it means for how we think about competition and, well, strategy.
Okay, let's get right to the heart of it then.
Let's do it.
The researchers lay out a scenario with 3 types of competitors in a market where quality varies. They call it vertically differentiated.
Okay.
Picture it as a clear step up in quality and price. A basic offering, a mid-tier option, and then a premium choice.
Like maybe different tiers of coffee shops. You've got the no-frills place, the standard cafe, and then the gourmet high-end roaster.
Yeah.
Same basic product, coffee, but very different experiences and price points.
Precisely. That's a great analogy. Now imagine that the budget option, the low-end firm, suddenly gains a significant advantage.
Wow.
Maybe through a breakthrough in efficiency, something that drastically lowers their costs.
Okay, so the cheap coffee place gets even cheaper to run.
Right. Now, our gut reaction, the standard business school thinking, would be that the mid-tier cafe is in trouble.
Yeah, makes sense. They're closer in price and perceived value to the budget option.
Exactly.
So they'd likely feel the squeeze as customers maybe trade down. We even have established ideas in the field, right? Pointing to the fiercest competition happening between the most similar players.
That's the conventional wisdom, yes. The middle market player, being more similar to the low end, would seem most vulnerable to losing customers to lower prices.
Okay.
But here's where things get really interesting. The research suggests that the premium roaster, the high-end firm, might actually end up suffering more.
Wait a minute. How? How does a cost advantage at the very bottom of the market end up hurting the player at the very top more than the one in the middle? That doesn't seem right.
Well, the crucial piece of the puzzle is repositioning.
Repositioning.
Yes. The mid-tier competitor, feeling the heat from the low-cost alternative, has a powerful incentive to shift its strategy, to avoid direct price wars.
Oh, okay.
And one key way to do that is to move upmarket, enhancing its offerings, improving quality,
Okay.
and essentially trying to appeal to a more premium customer base.
Okay, so the mid-tier says, look, we can't beat them on price down there.
Right.
So let's try to offer something closer to the high end in terms of quality and features.
Exactly. And this upmarket shift by the middle market firm has a direct consequence.
Which is?
It puts them into much more intense competition with the existing high-end firm. The competitive pressure, that initial jolt from the low end gaining an advantage, gets transmitted upwards.
Oh, okay, I see.
Think of it like a cue ball in billiards hitting another ball,
Right.
which then slams into a third one further down the table.
The cue ball effect in action. A low-end move triggers this chain reaction.
Okay.
But what happens if that middle market player can't reposition?
Good question.
What if their business model or, their resources just don't allow for that kind of shift?
That's a critical point, and the research also considers that. If repositioning isn't a viable option, perhaps due to high costs or just the fundamental nature of the industry, then the traditional view holds.
So the middle guy gets hit hardest then?
In that scenario, yes. The middle market firm would likely bear the brunt of the low-end firm's advantage because they're sort of stuck in direct competition without a way to differentiate effectively.
Okay, this theoretical model is compelling, but can Can we actually see this kind of chain reaction playing out in the real world?
We can, yes.
Yeah.
And the researchers use the U.S. grocery retail market as a really illustrative example.
Oh, interesting. How?
Think about Walmart. They entered the low end of the market with their incredibly efficient supercenter model.
Right. Massive scale.
Gaining a significant cost advantage through that scale on your logistics. This undeniably put pressure on existing budget grocery chains.
Oh, for sure. Walmart became synonymous with low prices, and a lot of smaller, less efficient players really struggled. So who is the middle market in this grocery story?
That role was played largely by Kroger.
Okay, Kroger. Makes sense.
And their response to Walmart's growing dominance was quite strategic. They embarked on a significant repositioning effort.
What do they do?
Renovating stores, focusing on attracting a more discerning customer. You saw them introducing more organic produce, expanding their deli and cheese sections.
Yeah, I remember those Kroger renovations.
Right.
It definitely felt like they were trying to elevate their image, appeal to a slightly more upscale shopper than maybe they used to.
Exactly. Moving away from that purely price-focused segment.
Okay, so Kroger's the middle. And who was the established high-end player in the grocery landscape at that time?
That was Whole Foods Market.
Whole Foods, of course.
They had carved out a strong niche as the premium grocer, known for high quality, often organic, and yes, more expensive products.
So you naturally assume they were relatively safe, right? Kind of insulated from the price wars happening down below with Walmart.
That would be the assumption. But the paper argues that's not how it played out.
Really? What happened?
Well, Whole Foods subsequently experienced significant performance challenges, even facing, near failure before being acquired by Amazon.
Wow. Okay.
The researchers contend that this trajectory aligns perfectly with the cue ball effect. Walmart's success at the low end prompted Kroger to move upmarket, directly intensifying competition in Whole Foods' traditional customer segment.
So Kroger, in trying to avoid a head-on collision with Walmart, essentially drove right into Whole Foods territory.
That's the argument. They transferred that competitive energy upwards.
That's a really striking real-world example. And it's not just a story, right? The research backs this up with data.
Yes, absolutely. They conducted statistical analyses looking at market-level data.
What did they find?
They found a correlation between Walmart supercenter openings and subsequent investments in store renovations by Kroger in the same local market.
Boy, that makes sense. One follows the other.
And crucially, they also found a link between those Kroger renovations and a decline in the sales performance, the annual commodity volume of nearby Whole Foods stores.
Wow.
Now, correlation isn't causation, obviously.
Sure.
But it provides compelling empirical evidence that's consistent with the cue ball effect theory.
Okay, so the cue ball effect seems to be more than just a theoretical possibility. It has legs. But are there specific market conditions that might make this effect stronger or maybe weaker?
Absolutely. The researchers extended their model to explore exactly that, how different factors can influence the strength of this effect.
Like what?
Well, one important factor is demand skewness.
Demand skewness. What's that?
You can think of it as the level of income inequality in a market, the distribution of willingness to pay.
Okay, so how does a wider gap between the rich and poor affect this cue ball thing?
Well, higher income inequality generally means a larger segment of very price-sensitive consumers at the low end.
Which helps the low-cost firm?
Initially, yes. It benefits the low-cost firm. However, it also creates a larger pool of very high willingness to pay customers at the very top.
Right, the super premium segment.
Exactly. And this gives the high-end firm more opportunity to differentiate even further upscale, catering to those very top-tier consumers.
So they could escape upwards.
Potentially, yes. In this scenario, that further differentiation can help the high-end firm distance itself from the increased competition coming from the repositioned middle market player.
Okay.
This could weaken or even reverse the cue ball effect. Think of luxury brands that become, ultra exclusive when mid-tier brands try to move up.
That makes sense. If the truly high-end customers are less concerned about price and have very specific desires, the top-tier firm can sort of cater to them even more exclusively, creating a buffer. Did the grocery store data offer any insights here?
Interestingly, yes. Their analysis indicated that in local markets where Kroger did undertake significant renovations, greater income inequality was associated with less significant declines in Whole Foods' performance.
Really?
Yes, which aligns with the model's prediction that a highly skewed demand can actually mitigate the cue ball effect.
Fascinating. Okay, what about the overall intensity of competition in the market? How does that play a role?
Good question. The researchers use the range of customers' willingness to pay as an indicator or proxy for competitive intensity.
So if everyone wants roughly the same thing.
Right. When customers' preferences are quite similar and clustered closely, competition is generally more intense because firms are vying for a largely homogeneous customer base.
Okay.
And what's particularly interesting here is that increased competitive intensity. So customers being more similar can actually amplify the cue ball effect.
Wait, more intense competition makes the indirect hit worse. Why?
Well, consider this. If customer preferences are tightly packed, when the middle market firm moves up, they immediately step into a more crowded space right next to the high-end firm. There's less room for differentiation.
Okay. The high-end firm has less room to maneuver to further differentiate or appeal to niche preferences when most customers have similar expectations.
Exactly. The competitive energy transfer becomes more direct and impactful in that tighter space.
So in a highly competitive landscape, that ricochet can be even more damaging for the distant player. That's another key consideration. Why?
It is.
And what about the cost of improving quality? That must also influence how firms respond, right?
Absolutely. The model considers the convexity of the cost function.
Convexity.
Yeah, essentially how much more expensive it becomes to achieve each incremental improvement in quality. Does it get harder and harder, faster and faster?
Okay.
If it becomes prohibitively costly for the high-end firm to further elevate its quality and differentiate itself from that upwardly mobile middle market competitor, that also strengthens the cue ball effect.
Why? Because they can't escape.
Precisely. Their primary defense mechanism, moving even further upscale, becomes less viable or just too expensive.
So if you're a premium brand in an industry where it's already incredibly expensive to innovate and improve,
Right.
and a mid-tier player starts encroaching on your territory, you could be in serious trouble. Even if a low-end competitor's initial advantage seemed totally irrelevant to your high-end customers way back when.
That's the implication, yes. These factors demand skewness, competitive intensity, and the cost of quality improvements all act as important moderating forces on this cue ball effect. They tune how strong it is.
Okay, so let's boil this down. What are the crucial takeaways for us? What should really stick in our minds from this?
Well, the big one, I think, is to challenge that ingrained assumption that your closest competitors are always your primary threat.
Right. Don't just look next door.
Exactly. The cue ball effect demonstrates that indirect competitive pressures, especially those driven by strategic repositioning, can lead to unexpected vulnerabilities for seemingly distant rivals.
So businesses need to have a much broader view of the competitive landscape then, looking beyond their immediate neighbors.
Yes.
And anticipating how advantages at one end of the market can trigger shifts across the entire ecosystem.
That's it, precisely. And this also sheds new light on that old stuck in the middle debate,
How so?
This research suggests that firms in the middle aren't necessarily stuck. They can actually wield a strategic advantage through their ability to reposition.
They have options?
They have options, and this can potentially make firms at the extremes, both high-end and maybe even low-end sometimes, more susceptible to competitive shocks. They aren't necessarily doomed if they can maneuver strategically.
That's a really interesting twist on that idea. Now, it's important to remember, like you said, that this model has certain boundaries, right? It focuses on a specific scenario, 3 main players, one primary dimension like quality.
Correct.
The real world is often, messier, more complex.
That's right. It's a simplified framework designed to highlight this specific dynamic. Future research could definitely explore more intricate scenarios.
Like?
Markets with more than 3 significant players, industries where competition happens across multiple dimensions, not just quality, but service, features, brand image, whatever. Or the impact of new market entrants, or even firms exiting.
Sure.
And as we mentioned with the grocery example, while it provides strong illustrative evidence, it isn't the final definitive statistical proof of causation. It's compelling, though.
But it certainly gives us a powerful new lens, doesn't it? A new way to view competition.
I think so.
So just to summarize, this cue ball effect reveals this really surprising way that a competitive advantage, maybe way down to the lower end of the market, can create ripples that travel upwards, potentially impacting the high-end players most significantly in the end.
That's the core insight. It encourages a much more interconnected and dynamic understanding of competitive threats than we might typically have.
So, as you're listening, think about your own industry, your own professional landscape. Have you observed instances where maybe a disruptive force at one end of the spectrum created unexpected challenges for players way at the other end?
Yeah, how did those different players adapt? Who thrived or struggled as a result of those ripple effects?
And this raises a really interesting, maybe provocative question for you to ponder. In a world where companies can strategically reposition themselves, is being far away from a competitor's initial advantage really a form of long-term security?
Or could it paradoxically make you a more vulnerable target down the line as other players react and reshape the whole competitive terrain?
Definitely something to think about. If you're keen to really dig into the details, the nitty-gritty,
Yeah.
we highly recommend checking out the original research paper by Balasubramanian, Makadok, and Chiu. This deep dive has really just scratched the surface of these fascinating and complex competitive dynamics.
Absolutely. Understanding the potential for these seemingly indirect competitive effects, well, it can be a crucial element in developing robust and forward-thinking business strategies. It pays to look beyond the obvious.